have it, and so can you.
He was the foot-to-the-floor television hero when we first visited him, but when Knight Rider was flagged down, it put the brakes on hold for David Hasselhoff's party times.
I knew I couldn't hang it up and enjoy myself because this house needs a big paycheck to take care of it. It was the end, but it was also a new beginning because it made me say to myself, gee, I have to have a new goal. You know, my goal was always to get in features. Now my goal was like to survive again. I was being fed information like, oh, don't worry about a thing. We're going to get, right back on TV, la, 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 la. So for about a year, I listened to this information and I realized that, gee, I'm not on TV, I'm not working. And then that's when I decided to make some changes in my life and to initiate everything from me.
Finally, in the driving seat of his own career, he burned rubber in a new direction. David Hasselhoff, rock idol. Although his 1984 album was a miss, he realized it was just American audiences who weren't ready for the mean machine on Night Rocker. It took a surprise visit from an overseas fan to set him straight.
People had heard me sing here on telethons and on TV. I had a record deal on CBS called Night Rocker, which sold about 8 copies. I bought 7. And this little girl came to have lunch with me from Austria, and inside this Austrian magazine, she said, I want a trip to meet you, and this is the sponsor. And inside the magazine was a picture of my album, Night Rocker. And I said, oh, you got that album, Night Rocker? I said, I made it 2 years ago. I said, so, I said, is it doing well in your country? She goes, it's #1 for 5 weeks. And I went, ha ha, where's Austria?
Get your motor running. Head out on the highway, looking for adventure, and whatever comes our way.
Euro teeny boppers went wild over the snake-hipped American. David immediately put together a whistle-stop tour.
We actually got off our butts and did everything ourselves when no one said it could be done. We wrote, produced, and directed the show, and it's gone from there to a single in France, a show in Munich, and we went on tour in Portugal, and our next stop is Spain, and our next stop after that is Japan. And instead of waiting for an American company, we just went to country to country to country and let the local record labels pick up our deal. Hopefully, someday, we'll come in the back door back to the United States. This is Toto from The Wizard of Oz. As you know, Toto's out of work too, so maybe we could make Wizard of Oz 3, maybe about Knight Rider and the Talking Witch. Where's Dorothy? Where's Dorothy? Oh! Okay, this is Toto here.
Back home with his manager and publicist, a much wiser David Hasselhoff chalks up his change of gear to one of life's experiences.
It was a lesson that I knew was the truth. I just didn't want to do it, I mean, all I wanted to do was say, get me a job. I'm an actor. I don't want to have to do all the rest of the stuff. I don't want to have to go in and hustle and this and that and take meetings and, develop this. I just want to go to work and do what I do best, and that's act. And I realized I had to do it. I do all my business from my bedroom in my office, and I love it. I mean, I love it. I very rarely go out when I'm in Los Angeles. People come to L.A., they say, well, gee, where do you go? Let's go to all the parties. I said, I don't do that anymore. I said, I do that around the world. When I come home, I want to just hang. I also have a mini recording studio in my house, so we can record and practice and try and learn songs before we go into the studio, which saves us a lot of money. And we get a lot of work done for the shows in Europe.
Dreaming of the arms that held me tight. If you could only see me now.
The 2 years I took off paid off. It just took me a year to figure out that I had to do it myself, and I waited around for everybody else to do it, and nobody did it. And then you can blame a lot of people, but you can't blame yourself. So if you do it, you have only one person to blame if it doesn't get done.
David Hasselhoff, rock on!
Still ahead.